Eclipses. Focus question. How do solar and lunar eclipses occur and how have scientists learned to predict them? Darkness at noon or midnight. Imagine being outside on a sunny day at noon and seeing the world become dark all around you, even though that there's not a single cloud in the sky. Or imagine watching a full moon slowly change from milky white to a spooky blood red color. Strange events such as these happen during eclipses. Eclipses are amazing events that have caused wonder, fear, and excitement throughout history. During a solar eclipse, the moon blocks out the sun. During a lunar eclipse, the moon changes color as it passes through Earth's shadow. Eclipses in history. Eclipses can be frightening events if you don't know what causes them. Long ago, people were afraid of eclipses and considered them to be bad omens. People in ancient China thought the sun was being eaten by a dragon during a solar eclipse, then banged on drums and pots to scare the dragon away. Some ancient people in Greece thought there might be a connection between earthquakes and eclipses, but there is no link between the two events. Some eclipses may even have changed the course of history. One such event occurred in the Middle East in the 6th century BC. Two groups of people, the Lydians and the Medes, had been fighting a war for 5 years. On May 28, 585 BC, their armies were engaged in a fierce battle when suddenly a total eclipse turned day into night. The armies were so frightened by the eclipse that they laid down their weapons and agreed to make peace. Ancient people such as the Chinese, Greeks, Babylonians, and Egyptians studied eclipses. They eventually learned that eclipses were natural events. There were no dragons or other monsters involved. However, knowledge about what really caused eclipses spread slowly. Eclipses are all about shadows. We now know that eclipses happen when Earth, its moon, and the sun line up in space. An eclipse is nothing more than a really big shadow, just as you cast a shadow on the ground when you stand outside on a sunny day. Earth and its moon cast shadows in space. What an eclipse looks like depends on where you watch it from. If you were standing on the surface of the moon during a lunar eclipse, you would see the Earth ringed by red lights as it blocked out the sun. But from Earth, a lunar eclipse looks much different. If you watch a lunar eclipse from Earth, you will see the full moon slowly go dark as it passes through Earth's shadow. That's because the moon is only bright when it reflects the light of the sun, something it can't do when Earth gets in the way. Why the moon turns red. If Earth had no atmosphere, the moon would go completely dark during a total lunar eclipse. But Earth does have an atmosphere, and light from the sun passes through it. Most of that light strikes Earth's surface and is blocked, but some light rays pass through the atmosphere without hitting the planet's surface. The sun's light is made up of many colors and that blend together to form white light. The atmosphere absorbs most of the blue light in the sun's rays, but red light passes through the atmosphere and is scattered before passing back out into space. Some of that light strikes the moon and gives it a spooky appearance. The moon usually turns a reddish color, but it can also be orange, yellow, or brown. The color depends on the amount of dust and clouds in Earth's atmosphere. Total lunar eclipses happen fairly frequently. There can be as many as 3 in a year, but in some years there are none. It all depends on the changing positions of the moon and Earth. And because lunar eclipses are visible from the entire side of Earth where it's nighttime, you will probably have many chances to see on near where you live. Lunar eclipses are perfectly safe to watch and can be safely viewed through binoculars or telescopes. The length of time that the moon is in full shadow during a total eclipse varies anywhere from about 30 minutes to more than an hour. The sun blotted out. The other type of eclipse is a solar eclipse. During a solar eclipse, the positions of the moon and Earth are just the opposite of their positions during a lunar eclipse. The sun is about 400 times larger than the moon, but it is also about 400 times as far away from Earth. This happy coincidence of nature means that, seen from Earth, the circular disk of the moon is just the right size to block out the sun. When the moon blocks the light from the main part of the sun's outer part, called the corona, becomes visible. The hot gas of the corona glow brightly around the obscured disk of the sun. During a solar eclipse, the moon casts a double shadow on Earth. People inside the dark center shadow see a total eclipse, in which the entire disk of the sun is blocked for a short time. Inside the lighter outer shadow, part of the sun's disk is still visible during a partial eclipse. Beyond the lighter shadow, people see no eclipse at all. Because the moon's orbit around Earth is not a perfect circle, the moon's distance from Earth changes. When the moon is farther away, it appears slightly smaller and does not completely block out the sun during an eclipse. The sun's disk then forms a narrow ring around the moon. This is called an annular eclipse. Annular comes from the Latin word meaning ring. The length of a total solar eclipse varies from one eclipse to another and also depends on where you view it from. The longest time that people can see the sun totally darkened is about 7.5 minutes. People have far fewer chances to see solar eclipses than lunar eclipses. Solar eclipses happen in one form and another somewhere on Earth about Earth about once every 18 months. However, many solar eclipses occur over open oceans or in the polar regions, so very few people get to see them. Also, because the moon's darker center shadow on Earth is never more than 269 kilometers, 167 miles wide, the chance of your area being in the part of a total eclipse is very small. Each particular spot on Earth experiences a total solar eclipse just once every 370 years on average. For that reason, if you want to see a total solar eclipse, it is much better to travel to where you know one will happen than to wait for one to come to you. But how can you tell them and where the next solar eclipse will happen? Predicting eclipses. Astronomers have tried to predict eclipses since ancient times. Many astronomers in ages past kept careful records of some eclipses. They learned that eclipses happen in a long cycle. They also studied how the moon moves around the Earth. Their finding helped them predict lunar eclipses with some accuracy. But figuring out where solar eclipses would happen was much more difficult. By about 1,800 years ago,